up, my dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Mixed Tribe Dad Podcast. Thank you so much for all of you that like, shared, and subscribe to this channel, but more importantly, that are taking those steps to edify, build, and grow who you are. Again, my favorite word in Navajo is hojo, which means mind, body, soul, and beauty. Now, this episode is a very powerful episode. Why? Because it is going to cover a ton of things, but focused in on one specific topic, and that is my single dad journey. So what we need to understand first and foremost, right? 75% of men hide their pain. 75% of men hide their pain, according to AFSP 2023. So what we need to understand is this. When I became a single dad, when I became and gained full custody of my children, listen, the battle that I went through for 2 years to gain custody of my children was intense, super intense. There were plenty of times that I wanted to no longer be on this earth. There are plenty of times when I thought, man, if I were gone, then I'd be able to see my children a lot quicker. If I no longer physically was on this earth, then depending on your belief system, my belief system was after post-life, that I would be able to see my children quickly and then I'd be able to establish a relationship. Horrible thinking. Totally get it. But that's just the space that I was at. I'm glad that I didn't pull the trigger. I'm glad I did not do that. I'm glad that I was able to mentally get through the heartache and the hardship that I went through. So as I was going through this 2-year custody battle, driving 6.5 hours one way, fighting a court system that was favorable to females and not males, and because it was on the Navajo Nation, it's predominantly a matriarchal society, and so they wanted to keep the kids on their homeland, which is totally fine. It's what I absolutely love. When I became that single dad, when I became the sole provider and sole caretaker of my four bio children, that's when the journey really took off. And nobody prepares you for that. Nobody prepares you or helps you understand the process that it takes to get through and break through all of the issues. So I remember multiple times that my kids would just act out. They just did, right? They just gotten through a very traumatic experience in their life. Okay, they were taken and ripped away from the home life that they knew, spent 2 years in a place that they had visited but was more vacation than it was home, and now they have come back to live full-time with me. So the one thing that you need to understand, that I had to understand as a single dad, is how could I allow my children to express themselves in a way that they didn't feel like they were going to be judged, criticized, or get in trouble. So the first thing that I did was establish a safety net and a safety area that we did. So every Sunday at 6 o'clock, after about the first month I had my children, at 6 o'clock on Sundays, we would sit down as a family, me and my 4 biological children. We would sit down and we would say, okay, hey, this is a safe zone. You can say whatever you want to say, obviously within reason. Just don't use the Lord's name in vain and don't use the F word. Other than that, it's pretty much open. Carte blanche, go at it. And the first few times we did this, it was okay, right? They would open up a little bit, but they were still hesitant because they didn't know if they could truly share the experiences or their thought process without actually really getting in trouble. And so I opened it up, and allowed them to enter into my world and to see how I was feeling and what I was going through. And more importantly, it establishes that baseline of what was okay and what was not okay. It was about a month and a half after we started to do this that we had this massive breakthrough. Now, look, we've been going to counseling, as the kids would go to counseling and then I would go to counseling, and we had been going to counseling for a minute. And then they had this massive breakthrough. And I remember that Sunday as it was like it was yesterday. They opened up, all of them. And at 2 a.m, we finally finished. A lot of crying, a lot of screaming, a lot of words that were being said, not because out of hate or spite, but just being said because they had to just release that anger and release that pressure and release that process of thinking that this sucks. This really, really sucks. And it does suck. So as a single dad, what I learned really quickly was develop a space where my kids could open up, they could talk, and then they could be vulnerable without me judging them, without me saying, no, you're going to get in trouble, without me coming down with a hammer and saying, this is how it is, like I'm the big bad bear dictator. No, you can't feel that way. No, well, you know what? It was because, well, if this wouldn't have happened, or if so-and-so wouldn't have done this, then this would have happened. That's not at all what you need to do. What it was establishing a baseline, establishing an area that your kids, my children, could be safe in saying what they needed to say and help them through the process of this massive, massive change in their life. So the first principle that we need to learn as single dads, right, is establish that baseline, establish that area of safety and that security. But more importantly, it helps your children understand that you can listen without trying to give advice, or you can listen without trying to solve a problem. You can listen without trying to be the emotional support at that time when all they want you to do is listen. You can be vulnerable with your children and still carry that masculinity. You can be open to new suggestions, but also keeping this is how we're going to run things in the house, because kids need structure. Without structure, it's chaos. So you can still give them what they need as it intertwines in with how the house is going to function. Then what I did after that is I sat down and said, okay, what can we do working together to build a cohesive relationship where you will start to trust me, and then I will in turn start to open up and help where I can, and then we will allow experts and therapists to help where they need to help. So the second thing that we did was kind of establish this family baseline and this family mantra of, open and share. What I did is I had a journal that I would keep on top of our counter. And every night we would just write one word that said how they felt during the day. Happy, peace, joyful, bad, sad, glad. It went on multiple things. Later I didn't really realize years later that the hot wife and I would do the same thing when we mixed our family. We'll get into that later in a different podcast. So I was able to start this baseline of journaling with my children every single night. And when we had sleepovers with their cousins, they would write in it. They would be able to write one word that described their day. And then if we had friends over at late nights, their friends were able to write it. And then it started to compile. I still have this journal, and it started to compile over. But then you could see the evolution of how they were feeling at that time to truly how they were feeling. And I think we need to understand that as single dads, we try to mask how we're feeling in hopes that if our children see that we're strong and our children see that we've got to put it together, that they will build on that and they'll use that as the crutch and the anchor. Yes, they'll use you as the anchor, but no, they're not going to. If they see what's the perception of you have it all together and you have it put together, to them they feel less because they're broken and they're trying to figure it out. And that was the one important thing that I wish I did better, which was open up more to my children. Open up more at that time as a single dad, as a divorced dad, right? It was open up better. And I didn't know how to do that. I'm like, I don't know how to do this, right? My whole mindset, my whole purpose and my aura was, look, I just go out and do it, right? I just hammer down and do it. You're going to tell me I can't. I'm going to prove you 10 times over that you're wrong, right? That's just how I was built and grew up. The one thing I wish I would have done is really opened up to my children in the sense of, again, they don't really care how your day is. They don't really care about your feelings. They don't really care about what you're going through from a business standpoint, but they do care about you as a father. How are you feeling? How are you handling what you just went through the divorce and through all of that? How are you processing that? How are you as a dad now working with children, working with us, with you are the sole caretaker, right? I was the sole caretaker of my kids. Now, you could be in a joint custody. You could be where you have a co-parenting situation. Let's be honest, right? Very rare will you find a co-parenting situation that blends harmoniously. I have a really, really good friend. He owns airports and he does airplanes. A phenomenal guy. I've known him ever since 5th grade, 6th grade. And he's got a beautiful co-parenting relationship, which I'm like, man, I would have loved that. That would have been fantastic. He is the exception, not the rule. Majority of us that are single men that are in that situation, it's tough, right? Oftentimes, our children are used as pawns to get something in return. Well, I'm going to caution you right now. Do not fall victim to using pawns. Your children aren't pawns. Your children are your children. Yes, in the moment, things do suck. Yes, it's unfair. Yes, we get screwed. 9 times out of 10, we're getting screwed, right? I completely understand that. I completely get it. What you need to do, though, is build a foundational piece that says, I will not use my children as a pawn or use them to get gain. Your kids will see that. Maybe not now, maybe not at their state where they're at, depending on the level and the age, but they will understand as they grow older. They will see traits, they will see processes, they will see events, and they will see how they're being treated, okay? And they will then use that and understand, you are trying to use me to gain something, a financial benefit or a position benefit, whatever it may be. Your kids are going to see it. I'm telling you right now, they will. So you got to hold fast and build strength. You got to build that strength, that layer in. And how do you do it? That's a great question. That's why I started what I call my 30-day mindset shift. And what I'm wanting to do is activate what's called the RAS, the reticular activated system. Listen, it's mental clarity for 30 minutes a day for 30 days. 30 minutes a day for 30 days, you get clear on the actions that you're going to be doing. Whether you're starting a company, you're building a company, whether you're the CEO of a company, whether you are in high-level management, or whether you're a 9-to-5 guy, a dad, that is the beauty. This is the purpose behind it. Mental clarity for 30 days. It is mental clarity. What you're doing is you're activating the RAS. You're activating that system. What your brain craves for, like your children do, is structure. Your brain, our brain, my brain, all men's brain crave for structure. They crave for purpose. They crave for direction. They crave to understand hows, the whys, and the whats. Okay, a confused man does nothing. Confused people do nothing. A confused man not only does nothing, but then becomes an idle man. And then idle hand, as the scripture teaches us, an idle hands are the devil's playground. That's where you get in trouble. Understand this very, very clear. When you are labeled as a single dad, the first questions that go through people's mind when they find that out is 2 simple things. What did you do? What did you do? What did you do as the dad to become a single dad? Because in their mind, it's only 1 or 2 things. There's only 1 or 2 answers, right? Did you cheat? Did you cause infidelity? Were you cheating? Did you have a little side piece? Did you have that travel piece when you go on business? Did you have that business piece? Right? Did you stay late at the office? Did you have that late time nookie? Right? Is that what you did? Or the other part rhymes with corn. Were you addicted to that? Was that your vice? Did you get caught over and over and over again? Promise I would never do it. Promise I wouldn't watch it anymore. Guess what? Is that what you did? Now, you may have fallen in one of those 2 categories, and you may have done that. Okay? So we're going to put that one to the side because we're going to bring that up in a second. Or you were kind of like me and said, shoot, I didn't do anything. The one thing I didn't do was take action before. I didn't take action early enough. That's what I should have done. I didn't cheat. Heck no, no corn problem whatsoever. Okay? I didn't beat, I didn't hit, none of that. So you have two massive divides between when you were that single dad. You either fall into this category. What'd you do? You either cheated, right? Infidelity, ran around, chasing tail, banging anything that had two legs, right? And you justify it as, well, I'm having trouble in my marriage, blah. Or you had a corn issue, right? Watching it, downloading, whatever. Or you're hooked on drugs. There's a third one. That was the one side. Or the other side is, you just didn't act up. You did not be strong. Right in this sector. You have two. That's it. So the 30 for 30 program, the 30 for 30 mindship clarity is simple. It allows you to establish baselines and clarity. You get really clear on what it is you're trying to accomplish. You get really clear on the focus on where you're going. You get super clear on the vision that you're creating for yourself and your children and your family. Because what you now need to establish is what I knew I needed to establish. Eventually, I wanted to find a woman, a hot woman, right? And I wanted to be a catch. I wasn't a catch, man. I'm telling you right now, 34-year-old dad, divorced with 4 kids, ain't a huge catch. It just wasn't. I wasn't a catch. In my mind, I wasn't. So the outward appearance, I wasn't a catch. But where I was a catch, and this is where the program starts, is we developed this. I had to develop my mindset. Women, look, when you start dating again as a single dad, women aren't attracted. Yeah, they're attracted to you, 100%. That's why you're going to date. Where they're really attracted to you, listen to me very carefully, where they're really attracted to you is what are you doing to personally develop, personally push through? Where have you established? What goals are you setting? How are you driven? Right? Because now you have to care for, I don't care if it's 1 kid, 4 kids, or 10 kids. They want to know what is your baseline and what is your purpose? What is your vision? Do you have a vision? Do you have a drive? Do you have goals? Do you have aspirations? Do you have expectations for yourself? What work have you done from when you went through divorce to all that's been finalized to where you are today? What work have you done on yourself? You want to attract a hot woman? You show her what you have done to work on yourself. Here's the hack, people. This is where the 30 for 30 program comes in. This is why I developed it. It's to help you that are going through, have gone through, or about to go through. It's to help you get clarity on now you're going to be labeled as a single dad. You're one of two sides. Society says you're this. Regardless of what it is, this is what you are. I either cheated, ran around, couldn't control myself. 2, I couldn't control myself because I cared more for something digital than I did physically in front of me. Or 3, I had a demon that I couldn't overcome. So one of these 3 things society slaps on you a label. Fair or not fair doesn't matter. Life's not fair. But what is fair is the ability to change and to grow and to move forward. That's what's fair. So when you activate the RAS, the reticular activated system, what we're doing is we're kicking in dopamine. Dopamine is going to be your favorite friend. I love dopamine. Dopamine controlled. Dopamine in going to a streamlined position has purpose. Dopamine that flares out everywhere, you're just running around as if you've eaten a bunch of sugar or drank a bunch of energy drinks. You're just running everywhere. I want to do this, want to do that, want to do this, want to do that. But you got to get clarity. That's why I love this word called oligodendrocytes. Oligodendrocytes. What oligodendrocyte? It's the coating that goes around those firing neurons, that electric pulse that comes with dopamine. So the program helps you to identify and isolate and start to scope in on what it is that you need to do. Get clarity for who you are as a single dad. What is your vision? What is your mindset, your mantra? What is your baseline? You have a company. Your company has missions and values. What is the mission statement? What is your value statement? What is the purpose you have as a company? But now, have you done that as a single dad? Have you? That is the question. The program is clarity, 100% clarity, focus, and vision. Because when you have that clarity and vision, your children see that. And now they go, that's what I want to be. That's how I want to drive. That's how I want to move forward. I see what my dad is doing. I see that he's making changes in his life. It's super hard. I can see it's super hard and taxing on him, but he is doing things to help me see that he is that Prince Charming that I wanted for your daughters. He is that superhero placing that for your boys. You now become the standard. You now become the baseline that your children start to push towards, they start to grow towards. Then you get to share all of those excitement and things that you're doing. You get to help them understand dopamine. You get to help them understand the purpose behind why you're doing. You help them to understand the why behind your why. Always remember, when you write your why down and while you are doing what you're doing, you do need to do what I call the 7-layer bean dip why. If you never had bean dip before, go to the store and get it. It's fantastic. My mother makes phenomenal bean dip. But the top part of the bean dip, nobody cares about because it's tomatoes. You may love tomatoes. That's fantastic. 7 layers deep is where the guacamole has time to marinate and seep down into the refried beans. That's what you want. That's why you take your chip and you scoop from the top to the bottom and you pull it like a backhoe. You pull it out like this and you see it and everything is on top. As it comes up, sometimes what falls off? The tomatoes fall off and the cheese and the onions and then the olives, all that falls off. But guess what stays? Is the bean and the guacamole. That's what stays and that's what you're building. Your 7-layer bean dip. So first thing you need to do in a clarification and a clarity in the 30 for 30, the first thing you understand and get day one is you write down your why. So you write your why down. And then you ask the question again, why? So if my purpose is why are you doing this program? It's become better in myself. Why? So you write your second why. Well, it's to help me understand who I am. Why? So you're going to answer the why 7 layers down. And that bottom layer, that bottom why, that is your true why. That's truly why you want to make a change. That's truly why you want clarity as a single dad. That's truly why you are driving towards something. That's truly why you're taking the chaos that surrounds you, bills, work, kids, feeling low, feeling worse, feeling crappy, feeling like I can't provide the way that I should be providing, feeling like I can't be around my kids as much as I want to, feeling like that you are a disgrace to society. You now can take all that chaos and through the oligodendrocytes, you start to scope it in like this and narrow it in and allow the dopamine to fire and those neurons to fire and that electricity to move because you now have this singular focus and that is that 7-layer why. That 7-layer why is beautiful. That's beautiful. Understand that process. When I understood that process, then I started to develop who I was, who I am, and where I'm going. Then I started to develop a story for myself. A true story, a story of how I'm building and changing. So when the time came right, when the time and the purpose was right, then I was able to attract the woman that I wanted. I said, these are the 3 things I want in a woman. These are the 3 things that I'm looking for. 3 things. Here they are. In my belief, we're known as the Mormons, right? Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So the 3 things that I wanted was somebody who was a God-fearing woman. A woman who loved God. That's what I wanted. That was number 1. Purpose, God-fearing, has a testimony in God. The second thing is attends the temple. Goes to the temple, place of worship for us. She did that. Did that. No problem. Could go. And the third thing was read scripture. I just wanted her to be able to read scripture, whether she understood or not, that she had a purpose behind why she was reading the scriptures. That was it. Those were the 3 things that I wanted. Prayed about, asked about, fasted about, said, God, this is what I'm looking for, because I needed somebody that loved the same things that I did. And then I found the hot wife, and the rest is history. And now we have a blended family, which I absolutely love. 10 kids. Currently, now when you listen to this, it's five grandkids, but I'm sure it'll be a lot more depending on when you listen to this. Guys, go crush your goals. Be a part of the program. Get into the program. Get into 30 for 30. Clarity, vision, and driven. It is It is no fluff. I'm not, as you can tell, I'm not a fluffy person. It is a punch in your face. Get after it. Shut up. I don't want to hear about the excuses. It's get in, get going, and get clear on your visions, your goals, and your dreams, because your children are watching. Your children are watching you, and they want to reap the benefits of you becoming the best version of yourself. Second thing, get on the app. The app is there for you. I drop things in there. I put links to not only posts that I do, but I share business knowledge, business acumen, business building, right? One side, mindset, big, but it's purposely for those that are in the community of the Mixed Tribe Dad. Be a part of it. It's a global community that we're building. Be part of that. And then lastly, is share this with somebody that you know that needs it. Somebody that you can lock arms and be that battle buddy. Until next time, boys, love it. Go be the best version of yourself today, because today, as my friend Craig Smith would say, today is the greatest day ever. Go get it. Thank you for joining. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Catch you on the next one.